Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Abez Show with me, your host, Abe. Today, we have a very special guest. Hi, Rami. How are you?
Hi, Abe.
How's it
Great,
going?
great.
So, Rami, please tell my audience what you do and more of what you're going to tell us about today.
Sure. So I started off as a lawyer. Graduated from Lebanon, went to New York, specialized in financial services law. Worked for a downtown law firm called Cadwalader, Wickersham and Taft. We serviced Goldman Sachs. Came back to the region to start actually a startup law firm. So we started catering for startups, just trying to advise them on the way moving forward. That was back in 2014. Especially a lot of ecosystems in the region were kind of growing, especially the Lebanese ecosystem with Circular 331 that was just had been enacted. So we were at the forefront. We were able to pierce into the kind of legal industry market because major law firms did not see the potential in startups at the time. Then in end of 2017, beginning of 2018, co-founded my startup called Lexium.com, where we provide automated legal services to startups. We work on contract generation. We have a dashboard where startups can store their documents and manage their documents and have access to legal advice. Working on a lot of exciting technology recently, and since then I've been like really active in the ecosystem, especially in our area, in our region of the world. Really excited to be helping startups, trying to kind of be there for certain like early stage startups and founders. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of what I do. I'm passionate about finance as well. That's another layer.
That's something you don't hear a lot of people say, by the way. I'm passionate about
Yeah, I've been trading since like I was 14. I mean,
Wow.
it's something that I really enjoy. Recently, I've not been a lot into trading because of the hustle of work and having to really keep growing. But yeah, but that's another passion. Been following up on the crypto trend recently as well.
Okay, cool. And I know we've met because I started bootcamp as invested in actual Lexium. We thought you guys had uh,
Yeah,
very cool product and you were building something that is very
thank
well
you so much.
for the ecosystem. So I'm a genuine big fan of the platform as well. And I think
Thanks.
something that when we are doing, when I usually talk to a lot of startups, people always ignore finance and ignore the legal part. And you know what? I think a year in my life, my best friend was a lawyer because of trying to get what I earned or get what I was entitled to, right?
Yeah, that's true. Tell me about it.
I think, but tell me more about your those like the journey with Lexium. I know.
The thing is, it's not easy. It was not easy. It's still not easy. Listen, the problem, I think the problem, if we're honest, I want to start with the problem, then moving towards like the good things. The problem is that we live in a society that's very judgmental and that's very pressuring when it comes to criteria of success. So when you look at like launching a startup, if you want to start an idea, you are pressured by a lot of people around you to kind of deliver at a certain pace, and it's pretty normal because there's a certain level of evolution that's happening and you have to kind of walk with it. But for us, at least at Lexium, we struggled for quite some time to get out of something that does not show on the outside, which is the lawyer mindset. So I just want to remind like the people watching and that we are lawyers. So the founders are originally lawyers, and it's very hard for you to really take out like all these habits that you have built and move to a founder kind of perspective. even when you're excited, when you're passionate, when you're trying to really grow your idea, you always fall back into certain, not bad habits, but habits that are not appropriate to the startup journey, like falling into really advising and taking the time to draft stuff for customers, for example. So we were doing that at first at Lexium. Even though we were trying to push the technology, we were still kind of servicing clients, and that delayed us a lot because we did not know otherwise, and we didn't want to understand the game of like raising funds fast or at a high scale. Although we had a product, we had the credibility, we had kind of the forecasts to back it up. So yeah, so that was a small hurdle, but other than that, it was super exciting. It is super exciting to be launching your project, just beginning to kind of impact people. And the beautiful thing about startups is that you have a huge impact on the industry that you're working with, and even though it's not short term, most of the time people do not see your value until a later stage, but it's very interesting to kind of see how some users are changing their behavior because of or thanks to your product or your idea or your concept. And just a small change in behavior is really rewarding for founders.
And this is something good that you mentioned this, and because a lot of startups don't understand that, or a lot of new founders don't understand that, and
Yeah.
especially you guys are in a very new space. There isn't a lot of legal tech startups globally, and I usually say, like, no offense, Rami, but anything new means a lot of education, and a lot of education means you need a lot of money, because you're trying to exactly say what you're trying to do. You're trying to change or force a new habit. And humans, we don't like change generally. Like, if I have one good connection, let's say with a lawyer or an accountant, I'm always going to go to them, because then it's they know more and whatever. But now you're trying to do that self-help mentality where anybody can log in, anybody can get into the dashboard, they can inquire, they can register, you can start a company, like that whole automation process. uh, and it would work with a lot younger generation, but the issue is, uh, legal is not something talked about. And usually people, when they associate with lawyers, I'm something criminal or something, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, some of the most creative people I've met in my life were lawyers, especially when it comes to creative accounting. So, you know what I mean? Legal, everything legal.
Yeah.
But no, that whole change mentality and the whole education bit is so expensive, yet it's somebody has to do it. That's the problem. And I see you're very active online and you're talking about startups, and it's good because it's more of a collaborative effect, right? If you talk about legal tech and somebody else talk about accounting tech, and HR tech, and the that's a whole new world that people need to look into. So I 100% agree. And beginning, super tough.
To go to that point, actually, education. We during the pandemic, so we focused a lot on content. Like, we were stuck with kind of staying at home and having to reorganize the work and working remotely even more. We started back in February 2020. We started really focusing on content, drafting, writing articles, drafting certain guides, and we started posting them online on our Lexium blog. Um, we kind of focused on certain keywords, and we realized that this got us a lot of ranking on Google, on search engines, and Google mainly, and it helped a lot in really kind of giving us exposure. So people were kind of reaching out organically, and we would ask, like, how did you know about us? And they would say, like, we searched on Google, we searched like startup law firm or etc.
Mm.
So if I were to say something, really, as you said, education is super hard, super expensive. We were able to allocate time because we had kind of resources to do that, and at the same time we were kind of working remotely, so we could afford even further like increasing the team on content. But yeah, if we were like to really discuss education, I agree with you totally. Education is super expensive, especially in an industry that yeah is not very popular, and it's a bit complex to kind of go into. I think the next phase is going to be crucial for education on the legal tech side,
Yeah, I
and we're
agree.
going to see a lot of educational stuff that would kind of convert into products or services.
And it's true, and because nobody, as we were talking, nobody really talks a lot about this topic. There hasn't been that much disruption. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there's a couple of
Yeah,
teams globally that are doing legal tech and stuff, but disruption. And but keep in mind, legal, specifically legal, is usually driven by regulation, and regulation is a local. So whatever happens to the U.S., might not affect the legal regulatory anything regulatory locally, especially in MENA. I'm talking about the popular my side of the MENA, or even all of MENA. MENA is around over 20 countries, right? So getting the regulations, getting the laws, getting everything is not a single player can. So it's a very good space to be in.
yeah,
There needs there needs to be more people following the trend of educating new patterns. We don't want to keep falling to the same. This is how things are done. You have to go to the court. I mean, like a
I
lot.
totally agree. It's the first time that maybe a startup would be just asking for competitors. Like, please come in, guys. Please come in.
You wanna talk about that? Actually, when I started my first call center company in Jordan, um,
Yeah.
my hardest thing was to show who is Jordan and where is Jordan, because we were trying to, it was an outsourcing call center, so we were trying to take business from globally. So we needed more competitors to come out to actually start selling Jordan. You know what I mean? And then from
Oh,
there, more people started making it as a destination. You know what I mean? And that's where we had to lobby a lot of help, government, NGOs, even really tried to help, tried to get some competitors to come in and set up in Jordan just to show how rapid this ecosystem can grow. So, what do you think our ecosystem lacks right now? Like,
so yeah, number one is going to be investment, of course, and I would even say like specifically, I I I would think I'm not understanding yet why crowdfunding is not making its way into equity. Crowdfunding is not making its way into the ecosystem. There, I mean, I understand the lack of the complexity of regulations. I've advised a few crowdfunding platforms on that, but still, I think that this is an underrated section of or sector or kind of sub industry that needs to be fulfilled. So number one would be investment, but most importantly, crowdfunding. People should really be engaged with startups. Should be really be kind of investing in these ideas and not only keep them for certain VCs. That's number one. Number two, I think that uh, Arabic is lacking a lot. I mean, the Arabic language that would potentially kind of bring all these ecosystems a bit closer is lacking. We see a lot of founders focusing on kind of internationalization without uh, actually focusing on the region before. I mean, today we are more and more moving towards local and regional because obviously international has become much more competitive, and startups should really get that. So I think that what we're lacking is the kind of vision or mindset that we need to focus on our region, try to get our sales or whatever you wanna implement. If you wanna implement in the US, just go ahead and go to the US. uh, um, so I think that we're lacking that on a second level, and on a third layer, what we're lacking mainly is education. I mean, we don't. There is no real educational kind of support, even from. Look at all accelerators. Abe, I mean, Startup Bootcamp has been doing amazing. Uh, you guys really helped us a lot, a lot, a lot. But if I want to look at the whole ecosystem, there is no real uh, education that is happening, that is being really strict. If I compare with international accelerators like YC, for example, you go on their website, there's the startup school. It's an amazing tool. It's an amazing free tool that you can follow, and there are like amazing insights. We don't see that in our ecosystems a lot. We don't see this level of education that is simplified to a point that the barrier to entry for founders into the ecosystem would be lowered. Still, people get lost. So I think education is a third layer that we are missing in this area of the world.
And you know what? I do agree with all three of them. You know, the whole finance, the whole education. Education is super key, and with education, you know, there's the layers of both content and the right content available. You know, like credible, like you said. It's
Yeah.
good to mention like Y Combinator Startup School, which is an amazing platform.
Yeah.
And I know there's a couple of them out there that, especially in the US and Europe, that built that, and not only have built it, but kept updating it. You know what I mean? Kept keeping it relevant. You know, because
Exactly.
I can tell you,
Exactly.
you know, governments all over the world come up with some kind of manual, but nobody updates it, right? Like, but funny enough, you never mentioned talent. Do you think we have a big issue with talent in this region?
I'm gonna be very honest. I don't. I don't. I think we have a lot of talent. I think we don't have access to these talented people. I think that um, they are somewhere kind of in between, not knowing if they want to pursue a career in major corporations, international corporations, especially now with COVID happening, and people searching for some kind of stability post COVID because they're worried about like being fired and stuff. So they are kind of lost between this and kind of starting their own thing. They're going for also for fast revenue in crypto trading, in drop shipping, like kind of stuff that are more simple to do in a way. But no, I don't think we lack talent.
And you know what? Like, I'm going to be very controversial when I say this. Uh,
Mm.
yes, there's some certain countries that do well with in the MENA that do better maybe in technology and do better, and then you know some countries do better at sales talent and marketing talent, and you know, and there we've been labeled, but I don't think we generally have an issue with talent. Now
Yeah.
let me tell you my reasoning behind. When an investor comes and tells me talent is the major issue, I know for a fact that this investor never started a company in his life, because they, right now, all of MENA have produced. Okay, so this is in 2021, mid 2021, May, uh, has produced three unicorns. You know, so far, right? While UK or US, there's hundreds of unicorns coming out, right? You know, when you're
France alone produced 13 unicorns.
yeah,
Yesterday they announced the 13th one. The one of the major co-founders is Lebanese, by
nice.
the way.
Amazing, amazing. And then we also have to experiment. You said something very key, which is the local aspect. You know, bringing somebody, and we've tried this in whether Debizzle or other companies that I've been with in the journey. When you bring a top gun from Silicon Valley, yeah,
Mhm.
you will see some growth, but you're not going to see that same explosive growth because rel- culturally not relevant to what's happening on the ground. You know, a good product manager goes to the streets and talks to the people, talks about what they
Yeah,
want. And what they want
exactly.
in Silicon Valley or in San Francisco is not what they want in Beirut or Amman or Dubai. We have to localize and adapt to what's happening. And that's why
Yeah.
I agree with you. I don't see talent as an issue yet. When people say, I can't find engineers, you know what? Let me just tell you, I just posted an ad for an engineer. I got 900. Okay, maybe half of them are not proper engineers, but
But
getting that is just a lot.
it is, and again, to come back to the point that, yeah, I mean, if you look at the whole picture, yes, they are there. They're just not into the ecosystem yet. And that's the problem, that this ecosystem is not being able to attract these people because of different reasons, just like you mentioned, the funnel and the education and the barrier to entry for founders, not only for startups, but for founders into the ecosystem.
We were kind of lucky and unlucky in the same time. We're kind of lucky that, sorry, we have not attracted like these monster big tech startups to come in here. Maybe Uber came in and just acquired Kareem, but Kareem really did all the legwork.
Yeah.
But people look at MENA and say, oh, it's 400 million people. But people don't look at, it's 22 different countries. You know what I mean? Like with 22 different regulators, with 22 different rules with labor, you know what I mean? Like, government plays a big part. And that, for point number thing, I think governments need to get more involved to a level. Again, I say to a level, because they need to drive regulation in order to start up this ecosystem. Honestly, my experience, I've worked with maybe 5 or 6 governments in this region where they're trying to stimulate the economy about when it comes to the tech, because they're trying to create jobs or bring more money or bring more talent or whatever they're trying to do. But again, I think what governments in this region did well, or the countries that did really well, is they only interfered in the regulatory and how to stimulate business, but not actually, and maybe funding projects and programs from people who've done it before, and not build it from the ground up. Because once you build it from the ground up, this is where problems happen.
And Abe, I want to add something on the government level. I mean, I think that governments should also work together, because as you said, like we have 22 countries, different regulators. The future, as we are seeing it now, is for data, is for internationalization, is for kind of selling on a global scale. Yes, working on a local basis and targeting the customer even better, but for on a governmental level, on a country level, working together, these countries and these governments, if they are able to kind of converge their data, they could have huge insights.
No, 100%, 100%. Okay, so we come to a part of my show where I ask this curveball question. What superhero would you like to mimic? Or what if you had the choice to get a superpower, what would that be?
I'm a lot into like Japanese manga, so Dragon Ball, and so it definitely would be picking Goku from Dragon Ball. That's because that's a childhood passion, and I think that because it shows the character, and it's amazing how the author of like Dragon Ball kind of shaped this character, where he would be ever evolving across his life. So he would turn into Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, and every time he would reach a point where he would kind of nearly die, he would come up even stronger. And I think that I would pick that character because it really like concretizes the way we live. I mean, especially as founders, when we reach near death experience in the startup kind of language, we come up stronger, and we come up really wiser and more kind of organized, and we learn. And you learn from your own mistakes. You really learn hard from your own mistakes. And so I would pick that character. And if I wanted to pick a superpower, would be definitely being able to travel across different dimensions.
No, and you know what? Just to add to the whole Goku thing, I think resilience has to be a part of every founder, and consistency. In order to maintain your sanity, right?
And Abe, there's something that people kind of dismiss when we were thinking about founders. Founders do have a life, so they get through complications on a personal level, on a family level, on several levels in parallel with their startup journey. And so this creates another layer of complications where you have to come back home at night. you cannot stop thinking about work, but still you have to deal with your personal and family matters.
Honestly, you know what I mean? Like the whole juggle between personal and business is something that nobody talks about, you know?
Yeah,
And that's, I think there needs to be more support in that in general. So that's something that we
totally.
definitely. Well, it was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Abe. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming to the show. Would you like to tell my audience anything? And by the way, we didn't send a shout out to your co-founder Nadine. I think she'll kill me if I don't do that. So,
Think she will kill me. Yeah.
so, uh, so hi Nadine.
I
Uh,
mean,
so
Nadine is my co-founder. She's just an amazing, amazing person. This is why we should really learn to that startups do not grow without a team. They do not grow without real co-founders who are supporting each other, because when one of them kind of falls, the other one is there to kind of cover on their behalf or kind of just push them upwards. And that's the beauty of working with a team, with working on scaling. It's not about the percentages. It's not about arguing, you know, I want, let's say, 51%, 55%, 20%, 10% of a startup. The point is, and I always say it, like whenever we're having these conversations, the point is, if we're going to reach the unicorn level, if we're going to reach $1 billion plus, what difference would it make if you have like 30% or 20%? Yes, it would make a difference in matters of maybe millions of dollars, but the journey would not go there if you don't have founders, and if you're not sharing all this value that you have created with them. So shout out to Nadine, who's been an ever support, and who's just like pushed Lexium so hard in the past year, so hard.
amazing, amazing. And in saying that, I just have to remind our guests that we do have a hashtag. It's hashtag real talk, no nonsense. And again, Rami, thank you very much.
Love the hashtag.
Thank you. Thank you. And stay tuned to the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.
Cheers.